Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're going to explore leather oils. There's so many out there, so we're going to take a look at first, when would you want to use leather oil? And next, we're going to look at the difference between natural and synthetic oils. And then lastly, we're going to take a look at a few of the most popular leather oils to help give you an idea of which one may be a good choice that you could use in your leather goods and get good results. So with that, let's dive right in. Leather oils are essentially substances that can be added to the leather fibers to condition them and add moisture so that those fibers stay strong, durable, and healthy. And there are all kinds of leather conditioners out there, and they're primarily natural or synthetic. So the first thing we're going to look at is what is the difference there. So natural leather oils essentially use only naturally occurring oils, substances, waxes, and compounds and fats within their formulas. Some of these have some of that, and some of these are blends, and we'll look at these and others later on. Synthetic oils are going to use essentially manufactured oils. They're going to be non-reoccurring in nature, and they're going to be blends, compounds, things like that, that may add additional functional characteristics to the oil, but may or may not be preferable based on what you're looking for. So we'll get into some examples in just a bit. Before then, first, we're going to look at when and why you condition leather. So if we look here, there's a few things we could check out. The first and most general is essentially being proactive. So every few months, you'd want to condition leather just to help keep it maintained, flexible, strong, and durable. The second time is when leather begins to lighten in color. We could see, like here's an example, of a scuff portfolio. Some of it is being scuffed, some of it is lightening in color. We can also see in this book as well. And so when that happens, that means moisture is leaving the leather and it needs to go back in. The third is when leather becomes stiff. Also, when leather loses its moisture, it loses its flexibility. So if leather is becoming stiff, that could be another indicator that it needs moisture as well to restore that flexibility. And then lastly, as we see here, we're getting some cracking in the leather material, and we're even seeing some of it flaking off as well. That's because it hasn't been conditioned in a very long time, and at that point, the fibers can break and essentially be damaged beyond repair. So those are the 4 times when you definitely want to be conditioning leather with oil, and usually you want to be proactive and do it, at least every couple months. So let's check out a few types of leather oil and see what exactly makes them different and could be helpful in your use for it. The first one we have is a mink oil. It's very popular mink oil, and it's important to know that there is more than just mink oil in this mink oil. There's some other compounds as well. So for example, we have silicone, lanolin, and some other things. So mink oil itself comes from the mink. It's naturally derived from the fats in there, and that can be a very helpful one. It's important to consider what that mink oil is added to, because then that can become a natural and synthetic blend, which most mink oils on the market are. So keep an eye out for that. Next we have is a Neatsfoot oil. And Neatsfoot oil is another popular one. It comes primarily from the feet of cattle and is then mixed with other petroleum products. And that is, again, a part naturally occurring oil, especially if it's 100% of that oil in the mix. If it's blended with petroleum products, it then becomes another different compound than a purely natural one. Next up, we have Lexol. So Lexol has been a really popular one for a very, very long time, and has in general been one of the best. However, in around 2020, I'm not exactly spot on the year or the month, it seemed like they changed their formula. And so what used to be a totally natural, pH balanced, like really good formula had been changed. So it would be important to look on the bottle itself. You could even reach out to Lexol and see if it is the original formula that you're getting or if it's the new one. The original one had been great for a long time. The new one seems to be made with very different ingredients. And so I have to check more to confirm all the details of what they are, but it is notable enough to at least determine if you're getting the new formula or the old one. And here's another popular one, the Obenaufs. And this is more of an oil. Other ones we've looked at, can potentially be conditioners. And sometimes there's oils blended in with conditioners. And so we're going to look at kind of those overlaps here. This one is more of a pure oil, and if you look at the the consistency of it, it's very much like a liquid, and so this is an oil in itself. This one has a blend of natural oils and some beeswax and some other preserving elements in there. So it's pretty popular and is another oil option. Then we start to get some blends. So there's something like this from Saphir. This is the Renovator. And this has a combination of shea butter, oxfoot oil, lanolin, carnauba wax, and beeswax, as well as mink oil. So here's one of those examples where we're starting to really blend in some other compounds with oils. So whereas like the Obenaufs is straight oil, as is, Neatsfoot oil. With these compounds like the Saphir, we're starting to get into, a blend, and it's going to be more of a, almost like a cream consistency, almost getting towards saddle soap, which we'll check out next. Saddle soap. Here's a couple of popular ones, and this is not really an oil in its consistency, but it does have the, as you can see, you're probably well familiar with it. It does have oils in the compound. And so some saddle soaps will include, proprietary blends, some will include others, some will include mink oils in them, some will include Neatsfoot oil. So it depends on what that particular manufacturer includes, but some saddle soaps do include oils. That could be for water resistance, adding that to your leather. It could be for deep conditioning. It could be to add just another layer on top to help lock in the moisture below it. So these are another two popular ones that are well known. And a couple things for what not to use. We could see some home remedies that are not going to be great. That's going to be olive oil. The olive oil can actually get into the leather and start to decompose those fibers as the oil breaks down over time. And so that, along with being a more acidic pH than leather itself, is not a good choice. So we typically do not use olive oil. And another one that is sometimes discussed is baby oil. And so baby oil, again, is not recommended, based on its composition and also what it can do to the leather. So while it's relatively around and accessible, we would not recommend baby oil. And then there's another mix that we could look at. It's more of a conditioner, but does have some protective oils in it without an oily residue, something like a leather honey. And that's a natural version as well that doesn't have the synthetic ingredients that some others may have. And so when looking at that, that's kind of the landscape of leather oils. And so it depends on what you're trying to do, whether you're looking for something natural or synthetic. What's most important is to find something that is, pH balanced for your leather, and that way it'll help keep those fibers strong while it's conditioning as well. If possible, lean towards natural ingredients over the synthetic ones. But ultimately, it comes down to what it is you're trying to do and the results that you're trying to get. And some items will work better than that for that than others. And so that's that. That is the leather oil spectrum. If you have questions around using any of these, let us know. And until next time, keep crafting.